Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're delighted to have you with us for this special preview of the findings from AVANCE's Parent-Child Education Program Randomized Controlled Trial prior to the public announcement in July. Today marks an exciting milestone, not only for AVANCE, but also for the broader early childhood and family engagement field as we share evidence from one of the most rigorous evaluations ever conducted in our flagship parent-child education program. Before we begin, I want to extend our sincere appreciation to each of you for taking time out of your day to be here. We are joined by leaders and professionals who share the commitment to improving outcomes for children and families. Your presence reflects the collective interest in understanding what works and why in supporting families during critical early years of child development. As you can see on the slide, today's webinar is Success Starts at Home, findings from the AVANCE and Parent-Child Education Program randomized controlled trials. A few quick housekeeping items before we get started. And by way of introduction, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Lucelma Canales, and I am on the National Board of AVANCE and will be serving as your facilitator slash moderator for this webinar. So today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared following the event so that you can revisit the discussion and share it with colleagues who may be interested in the findings. We also encourage your participation throughout today's sessions. Please use the Q&A feature to submit questions as they arise. You don't have to wait until the end. Please submit them and we will keep an eye out for them and we will address them during the Q&A session. We will monitor these questions throughout the webinar and reserve time towards the end so that we can have that discussion. So let me set a little bit of the stage for you. For more than 5 decades, Avance has walked alongside families, helping parents become their children's first teachers and their homes, their child's first classrooms. While the stories and experiences of families have long demonstrated the impact of this work, today's findings provide rigorous evidence of the difference that parent engagement and two-gen approaches can make in the lives of children and their caregivers. We are especially excited to share these results with you before the public release of the report next month. We hope today's conversation not only deepens your understanding of Avance's model, but also contributes to the broader dialogue about effective strategies for supporting children, strengthening families, and building thriving communities. Now, to guide us through today's discussion, we are joined by an outstanding panel of leaders, researchers, and practitioners whose expertise and experience made the study possible. You're going to see on our panel Dr. Teresa Granillo, Chief Executive Officer for AVANCE, Dr. Flávio Cunha, Director of the Center of Economic Mobility and Professor of Economics from Rice University, and Chelsea Gamas, our PCEP participant, one of our parents. Rather than formal introductions, we'll let our panelists introduce themselves through the conversation and unique perspectives that they bring to today's discussion. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Teresa Granillo, Chief Executive Officer of AVANCE, who will provide an overview of AVANCE and the PCEP, the Parent-Child Education Program. Teresa?
Thank you, Lucelma, who's also Dr. Lucelma Canales. We are so thrilled to have you join us here today and lead us in this conversation, but more importantly, to serve on our board and guide our organization as you have done over the last few years. I am thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to share this great news with you all and to walk you through a little bit about AVANCE for those of you who are newer to our organization. We are a national nonprofit organization that has been dedicated to walking alongside children, families, and caregivers for over 50 years. we ensure that those we serve have the resources and support necessary to thrive. And I've been fortunate to be the leader of this organization for the last 7 years. I come to AVANCE from a background in nonprofit organizations, but also in research. I was a research professor at UT Austin for several years. So I come to this particular initiative, meaning the evaluation of our parent-child education program, with some lived experience. I'm really excited to share the results with you today. AVANCE is one of the largest early childhood organizations in Texas, serving over 18,000 individuals annually. Today, we provide responsive two-generation programming that combines parenting education, early childhood education, and family support with access to resources and opportunities, including pathways to college, workforce development, and high-quality childcare. However, AVANCE began in 1973 with only the parent-child education program. All other programs have been developed out of the parent-child education program, PCEP, which is the heart of AVANCE. The parent-child education program empowers parents to become their children's first teacher and make the home their first classroom. As a true two-generation program, PCEP engages parents and children between the ages of 0 to 4 simultaneously over the course of 9 months. Parents come to our centers with their children once a week for 3 to 4 hours. While parents are in class, their babies go to our early childhood classrooms. In the parent classroom, parents receive our parent curriculum that was recently revamped in partnership with Harvard Center for the Developing Child and is aligned to the brain science of early childhood development. If we go back one slide, the parents also participate in our toy making curriculum, where they make toys out of household products, and they learn how to use those toys to increase brain development, hand-eye coordination, serve and return, and much, much more. The toy making curriculum is very unique to AVANCE and to our model. And finally, parents participate in our community engagement and advocacy hour, where we bring community resources to them based on their needs. And unlike other organizations that may give parents a handout on where to find community resources, we bring the resources to them live, and then we encourage and support them in practicing their advocacy skills during the session. So let's say that we, through our needs assessment, identify that parents are struggling with rent assistance. Well, we'll find a rental assistance entity in the community, bring that entity in, and then allow for them to share the resources that they have, and then encourage our parents to ask questions, to advocate for themselves, their children, their families, their needs. While parents are in their parent sessions, their children are in our early childhood classrooms receiving high quality early education. And where it all comes together is in the home visits, where our toy makers / home visitors connect with parents in their homes. They support parents through the use of the toys. They support positive parent-child interactions and encourage parents to continue their role as their children's first teacher at home. In 2022, this was another piece of our program, just gives you a visual of the journey that parents and children go on together when they enter our program. They start, and before they receive any of our programming services, they actually fill out an evaluation. Then they enter the program and receive 9 months of learning and growing together. And then as they graduate, they complete that baseline survey again. The reason we want to show this is because we want to highlight how we actually monitor the progress of parents and children over time to see how AVANCE, how the parent-child education program impacted their outcomes. So in 2022, AVANCE was looking for an evaluation partner. Back up even further, in 2020, we partnered with Harvard Center for the Developing Child to revamp our parent-child education program. Obviously, we were in the middle of a pandemic, so it was not the appropriate time to test our new curriculum. We were delivering the curriculum via video. However, in 2020, as we transitioned back into in-person services, we decided to pursue a randomized control trial to test the impact of the revised parent-child education program. one of our board members, Dr. Bob McAllister, introduced me to Dr. Flávio Cunha from Rice University. And I immediately knew that he and the Kinder Institute were going to be the right partner for us. From the beginning, this was a collaborative effort. We worked closely with Dr. Cunha and his researchers, with community partners, and with our actual community to co-design a study that was both rigorous and respectful of the experiences and contributions of the families who made this research possible. While our goal was to strengthen the evidence base around a program that we have been delivering for years and that we've seen transform lives and families, our intention was that the findings could also inform the broader early childhood field. Today, we're excited to share those findings with you, to walk us through the study design, methodology, and results. Here is Dr. Flávio Cunha.
Everyone, I don't know if you can see me or hear me. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so honored to have worked with AVANCE on this project over the last 4 years, and it's been an amazing experience. And I already knew a lot about AVANCE, and it was especially meaningful for me to participate in this project because I was born and raised in Brazil. And although the US Census classifies Brazilians as not Hispanics or Latinos, I think that that's a huge mistake. But that's beyond the point. Before I start, I have to say thank you to the AVANCE team for working with us and for being so invested in this project. And I also want to thank my team, Snejana Nityanova, Jihi Lee, Anya Lisa, Jadira Castro, Carla Embry, and the people who actually spent a lot of time working on this project day and night. I think that there is something that I have been thinking a long time about this project and about AVANCE's PCEP program. It reminded me of a proverb that exists in many Western countries. It certainly existed in Brazil and certainly exists here, which is give a person a fish and you feed them for a day, teach them to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. It's a good saying, but this project and PCEP taught me it's missing a step because the families AVANCE serves aren't fishing alone, they're raising children. So the real question isn't just whether we can teach a parent to fish, it's whether that parent, once they've learned it, will they turn to their child and teach them to give a fish, you feed a person for a day, teach a parent to fish, and you can feed a family across generations. That's the idea we are going to test over the next few minutes, not as a hopeful slogan, but as something we measured. Does teaching parents actually change what happens to their children? Does it last after the program ends? Does it reach beyond the child into the parent's own life? So we built a really rigorous study to answer these questions honestly, and that's what I'm going to walk you through. What we did, what we found for the parents, and what we found for the children, and what it all means for AVANCE. So before I show you a single result, I want to spend a minute on this slide here. And I'm going to explain how we know what we know, because everything that follows rests on you understanding what we're proposing to do. So the study is really focused on here in Hidalgo County, and we did it as a randomized controlled trial. So many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with that concept and that structure, but I want to spend a few minutes because I think that that's the reason why if you understand this aspect of the study, then you understand why it's credible to believe in these numbers. So we start with the problem. So the entire literature is literally plagued by the idea that families who participate in these types of two-generation programs are families that are selected. They are highly motivated families. So if we were just to do a study in which we were going to look at families and look at before and after, um, a reasonable skeptic person could say, well, these are the most motivated families in Hidalgo County to begin with. So maybe they would have thrived anyway with or without the program. And if that's true, then you're giving PCEP credit for something the families did themselves. And if that criticism is true, uh, we couldn't tell the program apart from the people who chose it. Every program evaluation has to escape that trap. This is not specific for PCEP. So here's how we escaped it. And the answer comes from how AVANCE actually runs PCEP, because what AVANCE did in Hidalgo County was to have this really broad outreach for the families, eligible families in the community. And what turned out to be the case is that there are many more families who wanted to participate in the program than there were spots for families, right? So in a situation like this, we typically assign first come, first serve. What AVANCE did that allowed us to do this study is to actually run a lottery. So recruit everyone, look at the entire, all members of the community, all families in the community who want to participate in this program. And then some families are going to win the lottery, but some families are not going to win the lottery. But here's the specific thing. Everyone who is in that lottery are have the same motivation. They have the same hopes for their children. They have very similar starting points. The only thing that separated them was the luck of the draw, whether they won the lottery or they didn't win the lottery. And that is what's going to make the results we're going to show you today so powerful, because when the children of the lottery, when they end up the winners, when they end up months ahead in terms of child development than the children who actually lost in this lottery, the gap can only be explained by, oh, the program. It can't be the families, because the families were the same. The only systematic difference between them are the two groups in the program. So the two groups in the lottery, the winners and the losers, and the winners were offered the chance to participate in the program, and the losers were not. So the only difference that can explain why there is this observed impact, differential impact in child development has to be the program. That's what's a randomized controlled trial. The randomized is the lottery. So chance decides who's going to be offered the program. Controlled means that we have a comparison group. The comparison group is identical to the group that was offered the program, but because they lost the lottery, they were not offered the chance to participate in the program. And they're so important because they actually tell us what would have happened to the families if the program didn't exist. So it's the same method that we use to test whether a new medicine works. It's the most trusted form of evidence we have, and that's why I can stand here and tell you that these results are real and not just a story about who signs up. So this is really as robust as it can be. And here are the families. I think that we can pass to the next slide because we've done this. So the families are 245 families. They are almost all Hispanic mothers. The average age is about 32 years old. Working families, modest means, average monthly income about $2,300 per month. Most with more than 3 children. So this is exactly the kind of population that AVANCE was built to serve. So there's nothing special in the demographics of this family. So we're going to compare the families that were offered PCEP to those not offered it. You can think of this as the most, how do I say, honest, conservative way to estimate the impact, because being offered does not necessarily translate into attending PCEP sessions. Some families were offered, but chose not to participate. That they are counted as being offered. So this is why the numbers that we're going to show to you are actually really conservative in this sense. And I really want to be honest about this because this is the cleanest result that we can show under no assumptions of who shows up and who doesn't show up. And this is what we actually learned, measured right at the end of the program. So this is the end line results. Let's not worry about the exact numbers for now. I just want you to actually watch the patterns. You see the tall red bar on the left, that's the overall effect. And if you look at programs, programs that teach parenting programs in this literature, the effect size is about 33% to 36% of the standard deviation. For PCEP, it's actually way above that. It's almost 50% above the typical sizes that we see in the literature. So it's a really large effect. But it's not identical across all aspects of parenting practices. So it's kind of interesting to look at where the major gains are coming from. So the biggest bar is family engagement. That's so interesting because that component actually measures what parents do day to day with their children. The parents are reading more to the children. They are teaching more to the children. They are turning ordinary moments of their lives or their days into learning opportunities to the children, right? So, and then the second one is knowledge of how children develop, and that's really particularly about language development, which is so interesting. It's a scale that we have been using in many studies, parenting studies here at the Kinder Institute. And we typically don't find that parenting programs actually change child development knowledge. This one does, and it does big time. And the third one is confidence about being able to actually raise their children, feeling capable about raising their children. So this is, to me, the fishing skill, right? So it's the habit that is going to stay home, and it's going to continue there even after the program is going to be gone. And we can go to the next slide because this is the data that we looked on the parents themselves, and that's actually something that came way after the program had already ended. And we're asking a different kind of question. So did the learning to be the child's teacher change anything in their own lives, right? So, and the answer is yes. But what really caught my attention, and it's very consistent with the way PCEP structures its two-generation program, is that the biggest gain that we see is on perception about economic mobility, right? So this is so powerful because this is parents' belief that they can move up in the world, that their family's position is not fixed. That's a substantial increase. It's the first time that I actually detect a parenting program that was designed to promote child development and parent development at the same time actually change parental perception of economic mobility, and it does so by a lot, right? So it's a huge impact. And it's also so interesting because we find impacts on life satisfaction as well, and we find impacts on financial security as well, which is all consistent with this idea that the program is changing the parents' capacity to move up economically. I want to show economic impacts. So I've just shown you that the parents learn to fish. Now, the question that we all care about is, well, did it reach the children? And not just while we were running the program, but did it last? So did it continue after we ended, after the program was ended? So I think that this is to me the most exciting part of the entire study. Keep one question in your mind as we go. What happens to the children's gains after the program stops? And the reason why I'm asking I'm asking you to keep this in mind, is because there is a huge literature showing that a lot of early childhood programs generate only short-term impacts. They don't generate long-term impact. And the set of programs that generate impacts after the end of the program, right after a few months after end line, are a small number of programs. I want you to keep that in mind, because what I'm going to show to you is going to be a different story today, right? So a quick word, and again, the honesty. So the children are toddlers, the 2.5 years old, again, nearly all Hispanic, most Spanish speaking homes. We measured the development directly, though. This was not asking parents to report on child development. We used the cognitive toy box. The children interacted with an instrument that allowed us to measure development directly. And again, I want to be transparent about something here. For this analysis, we're going to focus on the second and third cohorts. Cohort 1, we had a protocol violation, particularly because of the use of the cognitive toy box. So setting aside is not hiding anything. In fact, if I actually used it, I think the results would be larger. And again, if there's a reason to doubt, let's go to the most conservative results. And what we're going to find, though, is that the comparison between the offered and unoffered groups are really clean for cohorts 2 and 3, because they actually have exactly followed the same protocol for assessment of child skills, right? So again, more conservative impacts. And here's the thing that really surprised me. So this chart is constructed in a very interesting way, because the Y bar, what you have is the developmental gain in months, right? So if I show to you that a child who is 2.5 years old, 30 months old, had a 3-month gain in development, that is a substantial gain. They are 3 months ahead. So they actually have, even though they're 30 months old, they have the development of the typical 33 months old child, right? So this is what this chart is saying. And I think that I like to think about it this way, because it tells us a scale, that it tells us the gain in a scale that we can immediately recognize the impact of the program, right? So now let's just start from the right, because I couldn't believe these numbers. So during the we have 3 assessments. Midline is during the program. Typically, every program finds an impact right here. After the program is literally once the program ends, we go in and we measure this. Typically, we find the same thing, large gains. And then the third one is the follow-up, which happens months after the program had actually ended. And that's where most programs show that the impacts of the program have faded. And many times they have faded completely away. And in some cases, they have even the sign has actually become negative, right? But this is not what we're seeing for physical and perceptual, physical, and motor skills, or language and literacy. We actually see that the programs are smaller during and right at the end of the program, and larger a few months actually after the program. Cognition is something that we don't find impacts that maintain for the long term. I have questions about the use of the cognitive toy box as a way to actually capture gains. There may be some ceiling effects that we need to study, but that's something that we're going to continue investigating, particularly because what we plan to do is to actually follow these kids over time, right? But here's the thing. the, we didn't, I think that a lot of the time, and what I am concerned about early childhood programs is that there's a lot of teaching to the test. We're just teaching kids how to perform well for a test. And as children age, we change the test. So there is no really true skill that was taught. There was preparation for a child to perform well in a specific test. That's very different from learning. I think that what we're seeing here is that we didn't teach the child a trick that wears off. We changed the parent. And the parent kept teaching after we left. The fishing lesson stayed in the home, and the child kept catching the fish. Now, this is the same results. And what I want to show to you is how the impact of PCEP compares to the literature. Um, we are way beyond typical for perceptual motor skills. We are right around the median for language skills. We are under cognitive skills, but we have work to do there to understand better these findings. So I want to bring the parent and child stories back together because they were really never separate. This is the journey a family takes. They enter together, we measure where they start, they spend 9 months learning and growing side by side, we measure again, and they graduate together. Everything I've shown you lives inside these pictures. The parent learning to teach, the child gaining months of development, the gains that keep growing after graduation, they all flow from this single shared 9 month journey. And we can say that because of the rigorous way that this study was set up. That's what true generation means, right? Not a program for the parents and a separate program for the children, but journey that changes both. And let me close where we began. Give a fish, you feed for a day. Teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. PCEP does something more. It teaches a parent to fish, and the parent teaches their child. And the evidence shows that the lesson outlasts the program. Four things to carry out of this room. First, the impacts are real and strong for parents and for children. Second, this is rare. The benefits kept growing after the program ended. This is not typical in this literature. This is a huge exception to what we've seen in this literature. The reason is the parent. Empower the parent. You create a home that keeps teaching, and PCEP is a true generation intervention. It lifts the whole family, not one member at a time. For AVANCE, that's the case. For doing more of this in more communities, you're not handing out fish, you are building something in the home that feeds a life for a lifetime. And I'm going to stop here and welcome Chelsea.
So Chelsea, we're being joined by one of our PCEP graduates, Chelsea Gama. Chelsea, we look forward to hearing your story.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Chelsea Gamas. I was a graduating class from PCEP in 2023, and I have three children. I want four. I have three children. I have a 4-year-old girl, a 3-year-old girl, and a 9-month-old baby boy. And I joined PCEP because I was a first-time mom. My daughter was about a year, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing the best that I possibly can for her, socially, um, emotionally, also with her academics, just to make sure, like, as a first-time mom, I'm doing everything as perfect as I can be to make sure that I'm raising a smart, intelligent, confident little girl. Not only that, I was pregnant with my second daughter, so I really needed to find a group, a program, just to help me raise my children or to have that support group. And so that's how I found PCEP. With PCEP, the reason why I joined was, I guess, what do you guys advocate for, or what you strongly believe in is that the parent is the child's first teacher. And that automatically hooked my husband. And I was like, okay. And also that the home is the first classroom for your children. And my husband and I firmly believe in that. So we went ahead and we joined PCEP, brand new. I had no idea what was going to go on. Just the fact that it was free. There was no cost to us. And that I was going to be in the same building as my daughter, which gave me some comfort, knowing that my 1-year-old is right across the hall with 3 amazing teachers who are going to work with her child development, do activities with her, play with her, teach her, while I would be in the other classroom being educated by Miss Lala and Miss Susie, who are my amazing parent teachers. And they're going to teach me anything that I need to know in order just to be a good mom. And where can I begin to slowly but surely teach my children anything and everything when it comes to their social well-being, when it comes to their emotional well-being, when it comes to their academics, making sure that we're hitting those milestones. And if we're not hitting them, well, what's the situation? How can we intervene? I know that Miss Lala and Miss Susie will tell us, to advocate for our children, for us to speak up for our babies. And it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to look out for resources that will help your family grow and be better. And of course, another thing that I wanted to join, or why I liked joining, was a social belonging. I was with other parents who are in the same boat as I am, that they had the same goal. They wanted to be hands-on parents. They wanted to be present. I was with moms, and there was also a dad, so I was with parents who I could ask for help, or I could ask for advice, or they could tell me their experience and what to look forward to, or what to do and what not to do. So while the curriculum was great, but also just having other parents with me in the classroom, it gave me a sense of belonging. And I enjoyed PCEP so much, and I would join again because it gave me fuel to continue on for the next week. And back then, with my first daughter and then having my second daughter right after, it just gave me the fuel to keep going and to not give up, and to see the fruits of my labor flourishing, and just to see that whatever they're working on in class with my daughter, that I could bring it home and build on top of that. And that's what I enjoyed the most about AVANCE, was that they were helping me build a firm foundation for my children, that I wasn't alone in it, that whatever they were working on in class with her, they would tell me, I would be aware of it, and I would bring it home, and I would improve on that so my daughter can flourish and be better. So that was the reason why I joined. And oh, baby took my notes. So what changed for me as a parent joining PCEP was my confidence. It gave me the confidence to tell me, like, I can do it. You can do it. The struggles that you're going through, it's going to be worth it once you overcome them. And that's what I noticed about myself, was just that as a mom, as a stay-at-home mom, while my husband's at work, that I can do it, that it's doable. And that's what I look forward to every week with those 3 hours, was that the breather, like, okay, let's see what else Miss Lala's going to teach me, and how can I apply it in my home to keep on going for those 9 months. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Let's not give up. And that's the change that I saw in myself. I was able to build endurance, build patience with my children, and not just put them on the side and ignore them. It built me the endurance to be involved, to be hands-on. With Miss Susie and her projects, all the hands-on toys that we made, I still have the little horse that they would play with, the sensories. I remember the books that we made, and the importance of reading to my daughters every day, to my children every day. And a little side note, all the sewing that we did was a little painful in the beginning because it was all by hand with needle and thread. But I can proudly say that I now make toys or I make things for my children. A little side note, I'm on a personal project to make little birthday crowns all by hand with felt and beads. And I could probably say, like, Mommy made this for you, or we made it together. And that's where AVANCE comes in, where they taught me a simple skill of sewing, and I'm applying it 3, 4 years later, still with my children, and they're being involved with me, making those like family memories. And that's me accomplishing my goal of being an involved parent, teaching them things that maybe they won't teach them every day in school, but we're doing it at home, where at home is their first classroom. I'm their first teacher, and I get to do these special memories with them. And the change that I saw in my girls when they were first in PCEP was that something awoke inside of them, that they're more aware of what's going on, that they see something and they're being taught it, but it continues on at home. If they learn a specific routine, we bring that home and it stays with them, and it's actually a lot easier for myself and for my girls to continue that and to wake them up more, and for them to be more aware of Mommy is teaching me something, or I'm learning a new color. And it's not just simple, okay, let's sit down and do this. Like, we're doing it through play, through sensory. And I can proudly say now that my girls are well aware of everything around them, that they pick up things very quickly as a teachable moment. Everything that we do at home is a teachable moment, whether it be something with their emotions, how they treat each other, or they treat others, or whether it be academics, on reading a book, ask questions. So all that came from PCEP. It helped me build a foundation that I can proudly carry on and build on top of that. And it wasn't something that I just simply ignored or let go. I'm proud to say that I kept on going and I kept the momentum going. And I know this is not PCEP's or AVANCE's goal, but I'm a homeschool mom. I homeschool my children, and for many, many reasons. But again, I'm seeing the fruits of my labor flourishing more and more. I can proudly say, and I'm very proud to say, that everything that my children know is because of me and my husband, because of the family that we have and the support that we have. My 4-year-old is reading at a first grade, second grade level because of me, because of how much I am involved with them. My 3-year-old, she's just right there. She wants to learn. She wants to do everything. She wants to learn how to write her name. You see that they want to do it, not because they have to, but because they find it enjoyable. And that's all from PCEP. We made it fun. We learned a way to incorporate the importance of academics, but in a fun way where it's not so black and white. We made it colorful at home. So I'm very proud of PCEP and what it's done for me, giving me the confidence, the fuel to keep going. I'm homeschooling my children, and it's a lot of work, but it's worth it knowing that I'm their teacher and they're learning things from me, from my husband. We're a team. We're doing it together. If there's a situation, my husband and I will talk about it as a family and we'll deal with it. I know my daughter's strengths and weaknesses because I'm with them every day. So as a teacher, I know how to tackle any lesson that is tailored to them because I'm with them all the time. So both my daughters, my 3 and 4-year-old, they both receive information differently, but I'm their teacher and mother, and I know how to tackle that. And I know how to tailor whatever lesson we're going to do because I'm with them. And I'm proud to say that I'm with them every day at home. We have a classroom upstairs now. I'm finally setting it up. My 4-year-old's going to start first grade curriculum. My 3-year-old is going to start kinder curriculum. And all because I have the confidence to do it. From PCEP, as a young mom of 27, 3, 4 years ago until now, I'm very privileged and honored to say that because of Miss Lala and Miss Susie for giving me that boost for those 9 months. And here we are 3, 4 years later, it's still going on at home. And my children, my girls, we visit once just to see their teachers, and they missed it. They loved it. They enjoyed it.
Thank
So
you, Chelsea.
thank you. Avance
Thank
is for all
you.
of us.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for sharing your family's experience with us and with PCEP. And thank you, Dr. Granillo, for introducing AVANCE to us, and Dr. Cunha for walking us through the study. I think one of the most powerful aspects of today's conversation is that we've heard both the data and the human story behind the data. The numbers tell us what happened, but stories like Chelsea's help us understand what those outcomes mean in the lives of real families, our families in our communities. I'd like to spend the next few minutes exploring the broader implications of the findings. So first, Dr. Granillo, Avance has invested in families through the PCEP program for more than 5 decades. These findings provide rigorous evidence of what families and practitioners have long experienced firsthand. As you reflect on the results, what do these findings mean for Avance? And how do you envision using these findings to strengthen and expand this work as you move forward?
Thank you, Dr. Lusama. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to two funders that believed in us and invested in this. So Bahala Foundation and the PAL Foundation helped support the RCT to be completed. So I just wanted to say that before I move on. And it's related. So these findings, as you've mentioned, are powerful and show the evidence of their impact. And just like PCEP gave Chelsea the confidence as a parent, these findings give us confidence as program deliverers, as an organization who delivers this program throughout the state of Texas and in California. This gives us more confidence to keep moving forward, understanding that PCEP is a powerful 2-gen program that has positive impacts for both children and child development and their parents. And these results not only position us to continue to deliver this program, but also to expand our reach so that more children and families can experience both the short-term and long-term benefits of the program. One of the outcomes that we measured for the first time in this particular study was economic mobility and the economic well-being of parents. Seeing that PCEP not only supports parents and their role as their children's first teachers at home, but also in their economic mobility journey, this opens up new doors for us. First, we want to share the results as far and wide as possible because we want to expand the parent-child education program. We want to partner with school districts, other nonprofits, Head Start, early Head Start operators to offer the parent-child education program to children and families that they serve. The results from this randomized control trial now put PCEP as a well-established program by the standards of many evaluation clearinghouses. So, and I'll say that this is the third randomized control trial that we have participated in over the course of our lifetime. However, the results from this particular study are far stronger than what we've ever seen. And so we want PCEP to be the go-to program for organizations looking to simultaneously increase parent engagement, school readiness for young children, and family economic mobility. Part of our vision is to ensure that all children and families have the resources that they need to thrive. And this evidence further supports our motivation to expand our partnerships and the reach of the parent-child education program across the nation.
Thank you, Teresa. And with that, Dr. Cunha, from the research perspective, studies like this help advance both practice and policy. What stands out most to you about these findings, and what do these findings mean for 2-gen programs in the broader early childhood field?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think that part of what I am fascinated here is that it's 2-gen, but true 2-gen in the sense that Avance is not just checking boxes, right? So it's not like, yeah, we're gonna here's a piece of paper, right? So they're really engaging with the parents and they're really engaging with the children at the same time. But I think that what really is important, and I think that this is the reason why the after the months after data does not show fade out, it actually shows improvement, is because the curriculum is not trying to, oh, here's this letter A, let's teach the letter A. Or I think that it's a much more generalizable set of skills that is actually getting parents to engage with children in ways that are meaningful for child development. And I think that this is where a lot of studies miss. Um, I think that it's definitely true that the parents are the teachers, the child's first teacher, but they are also a different type of teacher. They are not only teaching academic skills, they're teaching children how to form a secure attachment. They're teaching children how to form executive skills and literacy and language and so on and so forth. And the set of um, programs that we need to design are not programs that are narrowly trying to actually close the gap in skills that are academic skills that don't have early sensitive periods of development necessarily, right? So I think that this is the big, from a scientific point of view, I think that this is what makes me excited about this program. And it's an intuition I've always had about if you teach a child, there is no reason why a child should learn the color purple at age 3 because learning it at age 4 is equally effective. And a lot of these programs are just teaching all of these very shallow academic skills. And for a long time, I had an intuition that the fade out that we see in the literature is because of teaching, focusing so much on test taking preparation. It's teaching to the test. And I think that this is not what AVANCE is doing at all. The program really is about teaching more fundamental skills that have a sensitive period of development in the early stages of the life cycle, while also understanding that unless you bring the parent along, you can't actually make that difference, right? So it's true. It's a combination of true generation model, right? So you guys are completely aware and open about it, but also a curriculum that is a very strong curriculum. I think that those two things will influence the literature, and hopefully, people will adopt Avance's program or develop programs for other demographic groups in the U.S. that also face similar challenges.
Thank you for that. And we heard from Chelsea, that she's continuing. She's continuing with this with her family. She continues to be the primary teacher for her kids. And we thank you, Chelsea, for sharing your story and for helping bring these findings to life for us. We've got a couple of questions. Dr. Granillo, thank you for answering. If you go to the Q&A section, you will see that
Oh,
Dr. Granillo has taken the lead in answering a few of these questions, but we do have a couple of questions, Flavio, that may help, that maybe you can handle for us. Can you say a little bit about, can you expand more on the financial security gains in parents and how was that measured?
yeah. So the scales that we adopted for this study, we wanted to adopt scales that had already been used in other studies nationally, so that we could actually compare. Material hardship. There is a question that a lot of studies actually asked, and it's a question about do you have $400 to manage an emergency, a financial emergency? So that's the type of question that are asked in a lot of financial resilience questionnaires. We have that question there. We also have a lot of questions about food security, because a lot of really the issue becomes families that are so financially fragile, they can't even afford food. So we have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
I think that part of the reason why we have maybe the effect on financial fragility is not as large is because we were really looking, as the rest of the literature does, we're really looking at very, how do I say, extreme sources, extreme
Right.
types of financial fragility.
Hmm. So thank you for that. And then Dr. Granillo, I think that if you can answer the last two questions, and then
Sure.
we'll wrap up with closing remarks.
Absolutely. Thank you. So one question that came in was from one of our another board member who's asking if we can share our vision for scaling these amazing outcomes with other communities and nonprofits. And so one thing that I want to say up front is that Avance recognizes that those who are from their community are best suited to serve their community. And our vision for scaling these programs is actually partnering with organizations, like I said, mentioned school districts, Head Start operations, who are embedded within communities to teach them how to deliver our program, and they deliver the program to their community. Because again, they're closest to their community. They're best suited to do that work. We just want to provide them with this amazing resource to be able to do that and expand the work across the nation. And I can share more. There'll be more forthcoming in terms of what those plans specifically look like. But I did want to highlight that our back to what Dr. Cunha said, we're going to teach them to fish. We're not going to fish for them. And then that last question was around, are there programs that can help parents where they're both working? And this is really critical. This is a really, really great question because most of the parents who participate in PCEP are not working. That's why they're able to come and spend 3 hours. However, we have developed, this is like fresh off the press, we have developed a program called Avanzando Juntos. This is our parenting curriculum, and it is modified to be able to be delivered in flexible modalities so that it can meet the needs of working parents. That is something that we have been testing internally within our Head Start and early Head Start operations, and we will be moving externally in the next fiscal year. So more to come on that, but great question, Dr. Torres.
So thank you to our panelists. And just in closing, as we conclude today's webinar, I'd like to return to the theme that Dr. Granillo introduced earlier, the importance of partnership. Strong research does not happen in isolation. It requires trusted partnerships between researchers, practitioners, community organizations, and most importantly, the trust of families who generously share their experiences and allow us to learn alongside them. What makes this study particularly meaningful is that it was intentionally co-constructed. There was back and forth, happening between the researchers and the practitioners. The research maintained rigorous scientific standards while remaining grounded in the lived experiences, strengths, and realities of families and communities that Avances serves. We hope the lessons today will inform not only Avances future work, but also the broader national conversation. The full report will be available on Avances website. You can access it by scanning the QR code on the screen or visiting the avance.org/RCT website. Before we close, I want to thank the families who participated in the study, the Avances staff who made the work possible, our research partners at Rice University's Kinder Institute, and the funders and supporters who believed in the importance of this effort. Thank you all for spending part of your day with us. We appreciate your commitment to children, families, and communities, and we look forward to continuing this important work together. We hope to see you in subsequent webinars related to this work. Have a wonderful afternoon. It is now 2:00. Thank you all for joining us. Have the participants are signing out.